As St. Dominic lay dying in Bologna on the 6th of August, 1221, one of the last decisions he had made was being carried out. A band of 12 Dominicans, led by Gilbert of Fresney, a canon lawyer, an irrelevant but fascinating detail, obviously. This band was moving across France towards England, as St. Dominic and the General Chapter had decided in 1221. St. Dominic died on the 6th. That band of Dominican friars reached Oxford because they weren't just sent to England, they were sent specifically to Oxford. That band arrived in Oxford on the 15th of August, and they settled in their first priory. I'm preaching to you from our third priory. They settled in our first priory, roughly where the town hall now is, and Christ Church, somewhere between the two, all coming later, of course. Dominic, you might say, had been born and grew up in a very limited space. He was born in a tiny place on a hill, Calaruega. He went to university nearby, Palencia. He became a canon nearby at Osma. Calaruega, Palencia, Osma, north of Madrid. But his life took him to what we now call Spain, France, Italy, Germany. And little by little, what was to be the order of preachers took shape in his mind and his will in response to what he saw as the needs of the church then. The best way, I think, to approach St. Dominic, the best source, I think, that we have are a little book called The 9 Ways of Prayer, not written by St. Dominic, but collected by people who knew Dominic and observed him in the priory, on the road, when he preached. And what struck those who knew Dominic most was that he either spoke to God or about God. And St. Dominic himself, I think, recognized himself in that description, so much that he had it put in the first constitutions. And they're still there. 800 years later, our constitutions, first page. Dominic spoke to God or about God, and we're meant to as well. What was autobiography became a program. Now, much can be said about a Christian, but notice what they picked out, what Dominic picked out. Not simply God, not simply others, but talking. He talked to God. He talked about God. Talk. Words. Words, refractions of the Word, who is Jesus Christ. So we're talking friars, preachers, and we have a life designed for us by Dominic to sustain and make possible. But it all turns on us talking to God and talking to others about God. There are many ways of praying, and Dominic practiced them all, and so should we. But if you look at those 9 ways of prayer, the strongest impression is of his talking to God, either quoting scriptures, the Word of God, or constructing his own words to God. And that dialogue with God expanded into a mission to bring others into that dialogue. Many things then could have been said about St. Dominic, and no doubt he would have about himself. But on the day we celebrate him, and we here in Oxford have, as it were, almost a direct link with St. Dominic, what he did in 1221. We then should recommit ourselves, now in the Dominican family, a wider group obviously than the friars, but we, the friars, should recommit ourselves to making our identity, our purpose in life, to talk to God or to talk about him.